In the heart of Normandy, France, in 1873, a child was born who would become one of the most beloved saints in the world, Thérèse Martin. Her life was short, only 24 years, but her soul was immense, capable of illuminating millions of believers with her little way, the way of love and simplicity. Thérèse grew up in a deeply Christian family. Her parents, Louis and Zélie Martin, also canonized, passed on to her a living and concrete faith. Yet her life was not easy. She lost her mother at only 4 years old and began to suffer from a mysterious illness. Father François Lettel, a Carmelite priest and expert on Saint Thérèse of Lisieux's life, explains how she, even as a child, felt called to belong entirely to God.
She shows a truly splendid interior journey. At the age of 10, she had a very serious illness, psychological and psychosomatic, and she was healed by the smile of the Virgin Mary, that is, by the experience of Mary's maternal love. And especially at 14, what she calls her Christmas conversion, she describes it beautifully. She was freed from her hypersensitivity, from a certain childishness, and begins what she calls a giant's race towards God.
Thérèse was determined to enter the Carmelite convent, but she was still too young. At age 14, she made her one and only pilgrimage to Rome. During her stay, she prayed in the Church of Trinità dei Monti, where her relics are now displayed for the 2025 Jubilee year. Father Fabrice Duhayes tells us about her special connection to this place.
She went with her father here in Rome to ask the Pope the possibility to enter in the convent. And when she stayed in Rome, she stayed 300 meters away from here in a small hotel. If you go on the street, you can see it still written that St. Thérèse stayed in this place when she was in Rome. And she came frequently at the Chapel Mater Admirabilis to pray during her stay here in Rome. Seeing this picture of the Virgin Mary, which is painted as a teenager, was probably a great help for her to pray.
When she was finally presented to Pope Leo XIII, Thérèse knelt before him in tears, asking permission to enter the convent. The Pope told her to trust and follow the guidance of her superiors. Sister Antonella Piccirilli, professor of theology at the Theresianum, explains how Thérèse lived this disappointment.
When she recounts that the Pope did not give her explicit permission, she writes, "I had already offered myself to Jesus, to be his joy, his little toy, his ball. And on that day," she says, "Jesus pierced the ball." This image seems playful, but it expresses a deep pain. A punctured ball is thrown away, is useless. Thérèse felt useless in the hands of God, yet she made even this her joy, because her joy was to delight God.
Upon her return to Rome, Thérèse obtained permission from Bishop Flavien Hugonin to enter the Carmelite convent at 15 years of age.
She is very close to St. Francis of Assisi. The evangelical poverty of Francis and the evangelical littleness of Thérèse are the same thing, the littleness of Jesus himself, God who becomes small.
In 1897, weakened by tuberculosis, she died at only 24 years of age. In her final months, she endured a profound spiritual trial known as the Night of Faith, but she faced her suffering with serenity.
Her last 18 months were complete darkness. She says, "For me, faith has become a wall reaching to the sky. Yet her greatness is in her unwavering trust. Suffering can distance or embitter, but for Thérèse it became a privileged path to encounter God."
È una pista privilegiata per l'incontro con Dio.
Her death wasn't an end, but a beginning. Thérèse promised, "After my death, I will let fall a shower of roses." She meant the graces and miracles she would obtain from heaven. In 1925, Pope Pius XI declared her a saint. In 1997, exactly 100 years after her death, Pope John Paul II proclaimed her a Doctor of the Church, a title reserved for the great masters of the faith.
Papa Francesco la chiama dottore della sintesi.
Pope Francis calls her the Doctor of Synthesis. In her writings, she expresses all the truths of the Catholic faith: Jesus, the Trinity, Mary, the Church, the Eucharist, clearly and beautifully.
La verità che risplende nell'amore.
In a world dominated by efficiency, visibility, and measurable results, Saint Thérèse of Lisieux reminds us that holiness is not reserved for heroes or extraordinary mystics, but is within the reach of everyone.